Welcome to our information session about diet and healthy living and how you can use the resources that you already have to live happier and healthier and to use your lifestyle resources that are already available to you. It's well known that that Greek people are a very strong and resilient people. History is full of these examples. One of those being that during World War II in Greece, that there were for a number of years a shortage of food, and from the time after that, from about 1952, many Greeks left Greece and immigrated to other parts of Europe and to other parts of the world, including Australia. And when they when the Greek immigrants came to Australia, they brought with them their culture, of course, their traditions, and relevant to today's discussion, they brought their delicious and healthy foods as well. A main component, or rather the most striking feature of Greek cuisine is that it does fit into what's called the Mediterranean diet. And like Greek culture itself, the Mediterranean diet is very ancient in its origins. In fact, in the ancient philosophy, Socrates is known to have said that he believed that people should eat such things as beans and olives and cheese and vegetables, and bread, and to drink wine in moderation. That is very much the basis of the modern Mediterranean diet. Now, when Greek immigrants came to Australia, they, over time, they adopted aspects of a more Western European diet. So, for example, many Greek immigrants began eating more refined sugars, more red meat, the less healthy oils rather than the olive oil, or adding that to their traditional diets. Fortunately, Greek immigrants have also held on to their traditional foods. And so this has been a health benefit for, um, for Greek immigrants and their descendants as well. Now, after after people, the immigrants came to Australia, um, as some of the older immigrants, it became, well, with time, um, they have started developing quite high levels of cardiovascular risk, including diabetes, high blood pressure. And however, even with those high risk levels, what's been found amongst the elderly Greek immigrants is that they've continued to have quite a long lifespan, even though they have these high risk factors due to adapting some of these less healthier food choices. Now, one aspect of those unhealthy food choices, it has been found, is the addition of a lot more sugar than and refined sugar at that than what has been in the traditional Greek diet. So there was a study that showed that it was a Greek study, and of people who had a cardiovascular event. So these were cardiovascular patients. Of these people, the ones who consumed, who ate sweets even as infrequently as once per week, were 23% more likely to have a cardiac event than to those who than were those who ate sugar or ate sweets never, or more, or rarely, so say once a month or so. And the interesting thing is that in the traditional Greek diet, in the ancient recipes, the to sweeten the desserts, the modern refined sugars were not used. What was used was honey, which we know has a much lower or can have a much lower glycemic index than white sugar, refined sugar can. Glycemic index um, indicates how quickly it will it will make the sugar level in your blood sugar rise and fall. So the lower the glycemic index, the more slowly that's going to be absorbed, the better that your body can handle that, can metabolize that. And in the ancient Greek desserts, they were sweetened with honey, and fruits such as figs, dates, apples, and pears. Those were quite traditional in the Greek diet. Now, part of what happens with when we have higher levels of the unhealthy fats, so the saturated fats, when we have higher levels of refined sugar, refined carbohydrates like the white flours rather than the whole grains, uh, and high levels of or large amounts of red meat. When we when we adapt these more Western aspects into our diet, what happens is that, or one thing is that happens is that we inflammation levels in the body start to rise. Inflammation is a normal process that happens as part of the immune system. So inflammation is about fighting off disease. It's about ridding the body of disease. But when we have chronic inflammation, it begins to cause tissue damage. And that affects many systems in the body. As you can see from this picture, it can affect it has an effect on the cardiovascular system, the joints, um, things like asthma and allergies. Even it's even thought to perhaps play a role in cancers, in the growth of tumors and cancerous cells. What happens um, when we stay more when we follow the Mediterranean diet more closely is that those levels of inflammation do not get as high. The Mediterranean diet is associated with lower levels of inflammation in the body. Um, and it's along with that would be getting exercise as well. Now, even though many elderly Greek immigrants are living longer lives, as we just mentioned, being in poor health can certainly affect the quality of life. So even though you might be living longer, you might be in pain, you may not be feeling well, it's just life is just not offering you what it could. If you were were not in pain, if you were not dealing with high blood pressure, diabetes, um, worried about heart disease. So there are things that are already inherent in the Greek culture, and mainly those are things like the diet, the Mediterranean diet. So staying with that part of the Greek heritage, of following that those traditions, and even things like you know working in the garden. That's very much a traditional Greek pastime, and a very useful pastime, because not only do you get exercise that way and vitamin D from being outside, you also can then grow your own fruits and vegetables, which of course is part of is going to contribute to that healthy diet. And along with those things, so getting the exercise and sleep. And in fact, if you continue, and in fact, continuing in the Greek tradition of having a siesta is thought to be healthy because that helps contribute to getting adequate sleep as well. Now, the traditional Greek diet is one of the healthiest in the world. And so to wrap up, it's let's just remember that we can stay healthy by keeping the Greek culture and traditions alive in in following the moderate exercise, the healthy foods such as eating plenty of healthy breads and grains, cereals, have eating plenty of legumes, so the lentils, the chickpeas, beans, and of course the staple of the Mediterranean or the Greek diet, which is olive oil, plenty of olive oil. Um, Eating for protein, having plenty of fish, and of course having of dairy products, having yogurt and cheese. So continuing to follow this traditional diet, continuing to keep these traditions strong and passing these traditions down can certainly make sure that we're living healthier and longer lives and that our children are as well. Stiniasu.